All right, so here we are, episode 6, and as promised, we're gonna do some model work. There's the hairy beast in the background. He goes where he wants. His name is Jack. You'll probably see him back and forth. You might have noticed I have sort of a proto layout on the floor. It's my wood floor, not my carpet. We've talked about that before. We're kind of in the process of moving, and I'm not actually going to be attaching track to my board until after we've moved in March. And of course, you'll see that step by step. So, after some kind of boring stuff that covered the basics, um, there's a little bit more basic stuff. So, when you're going to be building models, plastic models, as I said, I use the styrene injection molding type model. And but here again, we have a few basics. Okay, um, glue. If you're going to be gluing plastic, the PVA white glue doesn't work very well on the styrene. So you're going to want a regular modeling cement. Testors makes a great one that is liquid. LePage makes one that comes out of a tube, and usually you would apply that with a toothpick or maybe a brush. As far as the glue goes, as I said, I prefer the liquid, but the other does have its applications. You can also use super glue for a lot of things, as well as contact cement, depending on what you're doing. Now, for younger people, of course, glue can be a dangerous substance. You want to make sure that when you do use it, you're in a well-ventilated area. And if you're under the age of, I think, probably 18, you'll need your parents to get it for you. And they don't have to supervise you directly, but you should know all the safety that goes behind that. One of those things is to when you're using your glue, it'll be a bit of a pain, but especially if it's the liquid glue, each time you apply it with the little brush it comes with, put it back on and put the cap on. That way, if you happen to bump it or knock it over or whatever the case may be, it's not going to go all over the place. It's highly toxic and corrosive, so you don't want to be messing with it. Okay, and I'm sure out there's a whole special tutorial on model glues, so you're welcome to go and take a look at that. Okay, so as I said, today we're going to do a bit of modeling, but I did want to show you a couple things. So I mentioned the dollar store before. You can get these there or at your local hobby shop. I think these are paint mixing palettes. So basically what you'll do is you'll put your paint in here and you mix different colors together, okay? And then you can dip it, you can, whatever the case may be. They're plastic, so they wash up really easily. If you're using acrylic paint, just with water. Terrific, and they're cheap, which is what we like. Okay, speaking of paints, there's all sorts of different kinds out there. I mentioned testors. Testors, it's mostly enamel paint. There's two basic types, besides regular house paint. So there's enamel paint, and this is usually when you're making models for your railroad or anything else for that matter. You're going to want flat colors, or it's sometimes called matte, M-A-T-T-E. So you want flat colors. When you're working with the testors paint, you'll also need paint thinner or mineral spirits. Again, when you're working with paints or glues, you want to be in a well-ventilated area, and sure wouldn't hurt to wear a mask, but everybody's kind of fed up with wearing masks. So a well-ventilated area, maybe with a little fan, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so Testors is a good manufacturer. This one's from Vallejo, and they're really big in the paint business, model paint business as well. They do mostly acrylics, and they come in gloss or matte. Again, for our purposes, for most of the time, we're going to be using from that. So the different colors will show. One thing to know about paints is they're always going to dry darker than you expect them to. So when you put them on, they'll be kind of one color. They won't change color, but the color will be darker. So when you're mixing your paints, you always want to make sure you're a little bit on the lighter side. If it's too light, you can always go over it later. So I'm going to need those. For some things, I use a regular spray primer, gray, as a rule. A couple of other tools you're going to need is a utility knife and an X-Acto knife or something similar. Okay. These are very sharp. Once again, for young people, you want to be using them with supervision or with great care. Okay, so that's that for now, and I think that's going to be it. So, I mentioned before, I've already started work on this model, but I want to show you from the very beginning. I mentioned I also have the Walthers Diamond Coal Company coal tipple. That's a big kit, a lot of complicated parts and instructions. So you want to be very confident in your modeling skills by the time you tackle that. This one here, it's the sunshine's bothering me again. There we go. Okay, so this is the Sawmill Outbuildings, and they're the Walthers Cornerstone brand. It's good quality things. Okay, they come in different colors, but you're probably going to want to paint them, but you don't have to. So the reason I show you this is because I already started on the National Oil Company build. So when you get a model kit, you can see here, you know, this is a good size. Okay, big box. Okay, so and kudos to the Walthers. They have all the same boxes, depending on the size, and then depending on the model, they stick the picture of it on top. So that's how that works. There we go. Speaking of efficiency and economy, one rail car can haul up to 100 tons. 100 tons in one car. It's not unusual to see trains of 50, 80, 100 cars. So while diesel fuel and exhaust is not very carbon friendly, it's used to haul an enormous amount of weight. So in that regard, it's highly efficient. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, so when you first open your model kit, this is what you're going to see. And I'm showing you this one because it's right out of the box. Okay, it's going to be done in sections. So, like if you have multiple buildings, then generally speaking, there'll be one building per section. Okay, I think this is the hopper. This is the truck loader, and I can tell that because of this. Okay, so the parts are always numbered, and you know they do come in different colors, but as you can see, they're kind of shiny, and when they're put together, they look nothing like the picture. Okay, so that's that. Cut this again. And that goes away. There we go. Okay, now With each kit, there'll be a set of instructions. Some will have a completely separate parts list, and they'll even have the number of parts in the kit. So first of all, it's a good idea to review. It's essential that you review this right off the bat before you even touch a knife or a glue bottle. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that all your parts are there and that none are broken or damaged. If they are, you can probably fix them, but if not, if it's really bad, you might want to return your kit. So these instructions came with the Lifelike Trains product. They're okay. I've seen better, but you need to pay attention to what they're talking about here. All right. So, as it says, I don't know if you can see that. Before you begin, read instructions carefully. Okay. The instructions will tell you what kind of glue you need, what kind of paint you can use, and how to assemble it. So if you review this at the beginning, and you can see it's done in sections. So you can start off with something little, or you can move to something else. Okay. Best to follow the instructions, read them through. If you don't understand them, ask somebody, either online in the community or an adult or someone else who might know what they're doing. And then basically you just follow the instructions step by step. Okay, now, having said that, I've already started on this particular model. Now, when you're painting, you can do this with glue too, but especially when you're painting, you want to lay down a piece of newspaper, and so that you don't get stuff on the counter or whatever the case may be. Okay, so these are the oil tanks. Okay, so these are the 2 oil tanks that come with the kit. I painted these with primer. When enamel paint will usually apply great direct to the plastic, but acrylic paint is water-based, and so it might not always apply very evenly. The other thing is I use a spray primer, so you don't have to worry about visible brush strokes or anything like that. I said I'd talk about some of my mistakes. Here was a little mistake, not a big mistake. I got this at my local Michael's, and it was cheap, and it is cheap. So what I found is when I started using it, the hairs were coming out, getting stuck on the stuck on the model. You can see here. You can see. Okay, that's not supposed to be there. Okay, yeah. So when it comes to brushes, you don't need the most expensive ones, but you want to get good ones, and it won't take you long to figure out which is which. So, and of course, you can always ask the people at your local hobby store. They're there for you, and my experience has been they're more than happy to help with any questions you have. Okay, so the reason you need this knife and the utility knife is that it all comes attached to what's called the sprue. Okay, so a piece will be attached there, a piece will be attached there, whatever the case may be. I test painted this one silver in preparation for the silver oil tank color, just to see how it looked. In this case, I want it to be metallic looking, so I used a gloss silver paint. Yeah. Okay, so as I said, I use the spray applicator, and it's just regular paint. So that's it for this episode, and we've got to start here. And when we come back for next time, then we'll really see some progress, and we'll take it from there.